Welcome to Comic Book Corner. I'm Dan De La Torre. Let's get into the She-Hulk, the ongoing series, the She-Hulk. We had episodes 3 and 4 drop these last few weeks. But before we get into the episodes, something has struck me about this particular series, which sort of surprised me. This has become both a sitcom and also a chick flick all at the same time. It's a fun show. I'm entertained. I will see it though, but it's not what I expected. And there has been some disappointments along the way, but also some things I really appreciated. So proceed cautiously moving forward. Some people, again, this is mostly a male-dominated comic community, so you may not care for the chick flick perspective of the She-Hulk series. But if you keep that in mind, I think you'll enjoy it. In episode 3, it's revealed regarding why Wong is using the Abomination. He's trying to finalize his apprenticeship as a sorcerer supreme, and does that fight club that we'd seen in the Shang-Chi movie. But the thing that was kind of strange to me, a disappointment, let's just say, there was one of my favorite teams. I always love supervillain teams, and this one here, the Wrecking Crew from Defenders 17, 18, and 19. Look at that team here. Look at the big, powerful men here. The Thunderball's got a wrecking ball that probably weighs about a ton. The Wrecker himself has a crowbar that he has to use 2 hands to use. It's a very serious weapon. And the other 2 gentlemen, who I forget, they're much bigger, much more powerful, and they sadly become sort of a joke in the comics. But no much more than a joke than what they revealed at the end of episode 3. This is what they portrayed as the Wrecking Crew. This is a boy band. That's not the Wrecking Crew. I mean, look at the guy who's playing the Wrecker himself. I mean, he's using one hand for a tool that looks like something you pick your teeth with. Thunderball's got looks like a little fluorescent light that you would hang for some sort of festive holiday season. I mean, and they're matching boy bands. It was an embarrassment, and it's sad on a personal note, because 1, I love the team, but 2, I've stored literally for decades both Defenders 17, 18, and 19. I've got 3 of them that are very high grade, a few possible 9.8s. The value of those comics took a nosedive when these guys showed up here, so that was very much a disappointment. One positive thing about episode 3, though, they did profile the media, because She-Hulk finds herself in the spotlight. She's an attractive character and now has to answer to the media and all the social media around it. And the thing that they had profiled very, very well is journalism used to be something that was very, very serious. If you were a journalist, you took your job serious, and you wanted to get the information and report accurately, without bias and without interruption. That's not true today. The media has become very much a joke, and part of the reason why it's this unhealthy interwovenness with social media. So if something happens immediately, it's 24-hour news, but also it's not reported accurately, and it's really, really too bad. So I applaud them for profiling how bad the media has become these days. I mean, things like The Economy, you're finding information more accurately here than you are in the mainstream media. In episode 4, we find that She-Hulk is defending Wong. It's another comedic scene where Wong he wants to get rid of or have another minor magician who's doing some sort of parlor tricks, but he's found some sort of actual magic that is interfering with the multiverse. And so it's a bit of a fun episode. And I'm not going to speculate, because some have speculated maybe Ghost Rider or Mephisto, and how many times have we heard that? And again, as the MCU continues to get farther and farther away from the original storyline of the Silver, Bronze, and Copper Age, it's becoming much harder to predict where they're going and why they're doing what they're doing. So I'm not going to speculate with any of this here. Excuse me. But one thing that they did, they threw out a couple of little side stories that they didn't seem to fit. One was this Asgardian elf woman who shows up for no reason. And the story doesn't seem to fit on any level and has nothing to do with the She-Hulk story. But it reminded me of something, speaking of the Defenders, Steve Gerber, who took over the series in issue 21, introduced this character here. It's the elf with a gun. Now, in the end, it was a joke. It lasted for a couple of years. The elf is killed by accident in Defenders Annual 1, and people, myself included, were not very happy with this joke because it made no sense and had no connection at all to the storyline. But I do bring this up because we may talk about this in the next episode, because someone else picked up this Elf with a Gun story, and it may indeed have a deep connection to perhaps Kang and the Kang universe. But stay tuned for the next episode for that. One other thing it did profile, though, and this is sort of the chick flick aspect of it, where Jennifer Walters is lonely and starts dating. She uses an online app, and she has to go through the trials and tribulations of finding people. And she does make one quote saying, "It's very difficult to date in your 30s." And that's something that hit home with me because I was divorced years ago, started dating all from scratch in my 40s. It was extremely difficult to do, and it was frustrating. It was extremely frustrating to date. So I can totally relate to the character having a very, very difficult time finding happiness. So that much I appreciated. But again, that's not for everyone. So again, take this with a grain of salt as you move forward with this particular series. So let's get into our shout out, and that would be James from Mint Hunter Comics, and I hope I got that right. He did a really nice piece last week on Silver Age Spec, and I reached out to him. I said, "This is one of the best episodes you've done on your service. So do check him out, and especially check out the piece on Silver Age." And the reason why I bring that up is because with the economy continuing to go downhill, there may be a silver lining for all of us moving forward, especially those who missed out on the opportunities that presented themselves in 2019 and 2020. If you missed the boat and didn't get those grails and keys because you couldn't afford them anymore, most likely it looks like those certain keys are coming back down again. And what I wanted to do in our picks of the week is profile some of the ones that you should be keeping your eyes on from now until this time next year, because the economy will go into a downward spiral. We're still in a hard recession, and we still have very serious inflation. But again, if you have the means, and if the opportunity presents itself, you may be able to obtain not all, but some of the comics that you wanted to get your hands on, but you may have a second chance coming up. So these are the ones that I see on the horizon. Now, the ones you won't see are like Amazing Fantasy 15, Spider-Man 1, Fantastic Four 1, Fantastic Four 5. Those are elite grails. I don't see those going down anytime soon, if at all, unless you find some, rare deal that someone really needs money. That would be the only way that you can find them. But some of these here, I think, is realistically that you could look at these moving down the road, and these are ones, I have some of these in my collection. I'd like to get some others, and I'll also be on the hunt like everyone else. So let's go down with the very first one here, and this is a surprising one to me. Tales to Astonish number 39. First appearance of Iron Man. It's still one of the deep grails in Marvel, but the price has gone down remarkably. A 2.0, which is what I have, topped $10,000 not that long ago. It's down substantially, about $3,000 on average. And there seem to be enough of these out there. And of course, the other two are Tales to Astonish number 40, the first golden armor, which Iron Man, which I'd love to have. I don't have one right now. And also the first red and gold, that would be Tales of Suspense, number 48, another great issue. But again, obviously you want to go for the big grail first if you can afford it. So Tales of Suspense 39, I think, should be on everyone's radar if you can secure it. The next ones we have here are ones you absolutely need to have. I have all three of these. And look how colorful these three are, Avengers 1, 2, and 3. Now, I have a low-grade Avengers here. I got it for under $1,000, but I was diligent and persistent. I kept looking. These are, underrated, and they're stabilizing, even coming down a bit. I think the problem with this book is that there are no first appearances in this book. But I don't agree. That's the first appearance of the Avengers. As we just saw in the panel, Kevin Feige and company are not done with the Avengers. That is still the main team in all of Marvel. And if you don't have one, I don't think there'd be any argument that anyone would want an Avengers 1, certainly 2, and 3 in their collection. And of course, you'd throw 4 in there as well, but that's a different story and a different element because it's the first Silver Age Captain America. But I would keep a sharp eye on all of those as the deals present themselves as we go down the road. The next is you can't get Hulk 1, 2, or 3. Certainly not Hulk 1 and 2. There's just those have got to the stratosphere. They're not coming back down. Certainly not Hulk 1. I'll never see a Hulk 1 again. But you can get, however, the 4, 5, and 6. I do have issue 5. It's a low grade, but you know what? I have the 5th appearance of the Incredible Hulk. Jack Kirby and Stan Lee at their best. These are still very much affordable and something I would absolutely love to have in my collection. I think you would too. And by the way, issue 6, that is the Metal Master, and this guy was serious. What I'd love to see one of these days, because Metal Master, I think that was his only appearance. If he shows up one of these days, comes back, and goes up against Magneto, that would be a great, fun battle. Anyway, just an aside. Next, we have another trio here that everyone would love to have, and that's, of course, Silver Surfer 1. I skipped over 2. I'd love to have 2, but 1, 3, with the first appearance of Mephisto, and 3, and I would say the most gorgeous copy in all of Marvel Comics, the most gorgeous cover, I should say, Silver Surfer number 4. That is Stan Lee and John Buscema at their best. That was a gorgeous story, a classic. Those are classics that you can't replace. I mean, if I remember correctly, Silver Surfer 1 is the first appearance of Shellabell, of course, the first Mephisto. But that classic Loki story, tricking the Silver Surfer into fighting Thor, is beyond a classic. That is something I'm the proud owner of 3 of them. I'd still like to get more if I could. But those things will be within range as again, the economy dictates. And so I would keep a sharp eye on some of those, especially the high grades. Next, we have the Journey into Mystery series, which, as we said in the early part of the show, that with Tom Hiddleston as a brilliant and character and actor who has owned the Loki character, I'm really surprised that this is so reasonable of a comic here. I've always equated the 2 major villains in Marvel comics as Doctor Doom, by far the first, and Loki being a very close second, because the 2 were all over the place in Silver and Bronze Age. Having his first appearance is, what is it, about 10% of what a Fantastic Four 5 would be? Or I'm probably doing the math incorrectly. I blame public school for that, by the way. But it is within reach, and I would get your hands on this sooner than later, because that's the most expensive of all the books. To the right is just a fun book. That's Journey to Mystery 112. That was a Thor versus Hulk battle. Another classic Jack Kirby and Stan Lee creation. It is an offshoot, by the way, of Avengers 3. In Avengers 3, Thor and Hulk fight in that issue, but this is a side issue that isn't revealed. So they reveal what happened when they fought themselves off to the side. And it was a very, very interesting story. Interesting interweaving with Odin and his son Thor. So a great read, very affordable. And you can't go wrong with the very first Hercules, Journey into Mystery Annual number 1. We know that Hercules has been revealed, by the way, that he will have his own show. He'll be very much a mainstay. I forget the actor's name, but I think that character is going to be around for a long, long time. Everyone, in the next episode, let's continue on, because there are so many I could put in. I can't put it all in one show. I'll do a number of series of very key grails that I would, again, get those sooner than later. This is probably your second, maybe last chance to get hold of some of these. But I want to have a conversation as to why, and I want to dovetail with the gentleman from Mint Hunter's piece regarding the Silver Age. He does accurately, and so does Swagelhouse, by the way, did a very nice piece on this regarding why Silver Age is more expensive. But one thing the 2 gentlemen didn't describe was why. And I'd like to get into the detailed discussion as to why the Silver Age is more prominent, even more prominent than the Golden Age. Even though Golden Age is much, much older, why does Silver Age dominate? We'll have that conversation in the next episode. Everyone, thanks for joining. For the Ian Hoodrat Network, I'm Dan Delatorre, and this is Comic Book Corner.